stories of the day to talk about. We're live from Gay Street here in the Village, probably the nicest street in all of New York. People are always shooting up here. It's so nice. Yeah, so there's important, it's election coverage 24/7, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. No one's tuning in. No one watches this later. You know, it's just a shame that I'm providing so much value and just falls on deaf ears. I was just watching this fucking, it's called Doom Scrolling. It's a new YouTube. You may have seen it pop up. It's like the Dirtbag Left video podcast. And it was the chick from Chapo Trap House, which is like the fucking, you know, kind of dweeby, Dirtbag Left fucking political socialist podcast or whatever. And I'm like, they're just making all the same points that I make. I've been saying this stuff for years. Oh, here's the Ghostbusters. Yeah, so we're on our Halloween tour. All right, Ashley, love you. We'll see you in a little while, Ashley, okay? Here's the Ghostbusters house. Have you seen this yet? Have you seen this? You know, this is adult. Hope you can put my intro on the open mic vid. What are you talking about, your intro? I stopped recording. I forgot to record, Ashley. So, literally the whole opening that I did the songs and your intro, I literally was not rolling on the camera because you were bothering me so much at the fucking control board that I couldn't focus. So literally I missed my entire performance because I had so many things that I was juggling and you were in my fucking ear the whole time. Blah, blah, blah. Being obnoxious. Yeah, so thanks a lot for that. Yeah, so this is the Ghostbusters fucking house. This is what adults do with their time and money now. We got tour buses going by. See these fucking stupid inflatable. This is like the most commotion I've seen since the Friends apartment. Is that actually? They're actually attacking us. Okay, so I do want to talk about the Tony Hinchcliffe thing. That's kind of my predominant subject that I'm going to be discussing today. Is the I mean, I know I'm a little bit late. This is a problem with only doing the live stream like a couple times a week because I'm like way behind on the fucking... Everything's already been said probably about this fucking Tony Hinchcliffe thing. I only read for 4 minutes total, but I did the encore even then. Okay. Alright, Ashley, just please don't bother me about this. It's so inconsequential and like doesn't matter at all. It's like your obsession, and like please do not just bring this into other things that I'm trying to do, because it's just your like insecurity and obsession, and you're just trying to control everything, you know. Let's check out Three Lives Books over here. It's a nice little bookstore. Too bad I can't afford anything. It's all like retail. Okay, love you, Ashley. See you in a little while. Okay, Naomi Klein's got a new book out, I see. Werner Herzog novel. Okay, Ashley. Well, maybe I'll run into you. Probably, I expect that I will. Jenny Slate has a book, I see. Life Form. Oh, there we go. Latino Poetry, Library of America. There you go. Okay, the Third Realm. So I was on the 81st Street platform riding home on Monday from Ashley's, and I was sitting on the bench downtown side waiting for the B train. And on the bench they had this fucking copy of I found there was a book sitting there. Normally I don't touch things that I find in public Since COVID, I just don't really touch things, really. My whole relationship to touching things has changed because I'm very conscious about germs on my hands at all times. So normally I wouldn't have even touched the book, to be honest. But I was curious. It's 81st Street, it's the Upper West Side. So I'm like, let me just see what this is. So I pick it up, it's this Nausgaard book. It's this new book, they had it. The Third Wave, or I don't even know what the fuck it is. I'm not a Nausgaard guy. I never read My Struggle. You know, I'm not one of these like lit people that was like all in the Nausgaard hype. I'm curious. I would take a look at, you know, I've picked up My Struggle once or twice. And I would say it probably is definitely an influence on this. You know, what is My Struggle but a live stream? Nausgaard is like the king of the literary streamers. It's just like blah, blah, blah about his fucking life or whatever. His whole goddamn life story. He's just like rambling. It's a yap fest. It's a 6-volume yap fest, let's just say that. Not unlike this. And so definitely My Struggle was coming out when I started Scenes from a Life. That was like when My Struggle was like, it was right before Trump, and it was like My Struggle was like everybody's favorite fucking literary, you know, all the women like My Struggle because it's like this tall Swedish guy or whatever. He's like this super good looking fucking like Nordic guy. So like women are like, ooh yeah, I want to read this guy's inner thoughts and like fantasize about having sex with this fucking Thor looking motherfucker. He looks like Gary Oldman as Bram Stoker's Dracula. And who's hotter than Gary Oldman as Bram Stoker's Dracula? I mean, really. That movie, I do want to talk about that movie. We watched it this weekend, and I didn't really realize what an impact it had on me. My friend Jake had the VHS. I think it was maybe even a 2-cassette VHS. And it's a very sexual movie. It's very erotic. So I saw it when I was like probably 7 or 8 or 9 years old. I remember watching it at my friend Jake's house. The scene where Keanu Reeves is in the basement with Dracula's wives was like, wow, that was pretty eye-opening when you're 7 or 8. But you know, it's something that like it's just so far back that like you don't really think about it. You know, those were some good years for culture. The early 90s up until about, you know, 95, 96. There was some good fucking movies, some good music. As a kid, Doggy Style came out, right? It's the 30th anniversary of Doggy Style. We go to Jake's house, listen to Doggy Style, play NBA Jam, and then watch Bram Stoker's Dracula. All stuff probably that we shouldn't be doing as 7 or 8-year-olds or whatever, 9-year-olds. It's all like incredibly vulgar and sexual and but it's an amazing movie, actually. I mean, I really do think Coppola is like borderline genius. And it kind of shows through all his work. I think he's misunderstood a lot of the time. But Bram Stoker's Dracula, I'll talk more about that later. But I do want to get the Tony Hinchcliffe thing, because this is the most important thing, even though I'm real late. Here's my flyer, by the way. Still standing, baby. Holding strong. Here on West 4th Street. I've found that the places where the flyers last the longest are like telephone poles in the middle of like these small streets. If you post it on a corner or on like an avenue, it's just like, forget it. Somebody's going to tear it down, you know. Look at this beauty. I mean, Jesus Christ. It is absolutely like a perfect day in New York City. And I still want to buy this townhouse. This is still my dream townhouse. I saw a TikTok video about it. This guy, he offered him 5.5, the guy wouldn't take it. Because I guess the house is only 16 feet wide. So it's very narrow. For like a townhouse, it's like, it's hard to get furniture if it's less than 20 feet wide. So I guess that's one reason why it hasn't sold. But it is a corner fucking lot. You know, on pretty much one of the nicest corners in New York City, West 4th and West 11th. I mean, it really doesn't get any better than this, to be honest. Location, 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 people. And, you know, if I had $6.5 million, I'd buy it right now. Make it my world poetry headquarters for vlogging and live streaming. For all my vlogging, it'd be my YouTube, television network. Be Rockefeller Center of poetry YouTube. West 4th and West 11th, 44th, the nexus of the universe. Okay, so anyway, Tony Hinchcliffe, right? This is the October surprise that has rocked the nation. They couldn't do it with the sex tape of Trump saying he's sexually assaulting women. It was, okay, so I'm gonna go with, I sort of agree with Jon Stewart on this one, which is that, it's all about context, really, which is like, the dude, we all recognize, like, the dude was in the wrong context, or his remarks were taken in a way, and I'm not, like, apologizing, but, like, this is something that I've seen, being exposed to comedy, being around comedy, and I've talked about it a lot on my live stream, about how these fucking stand-up comedy clubs are, like, right-wing spaces, and there is, like, it's a place for these kind of, like, lonely, angry men who are, like, Trump voters and shit. It has been shocking to me in the past couple months how many comedians have kind of come out as, like, Trump. Well, it's not surprising, but it's, like, it's something that I think the Democrats, right, as we're seeing, like, men are turning away from that party. They're joining the Republican. The parties are becoming extremely gendered, which is ironic because there's this whole cultural conversation about gender, and we're supposed to be so gender positive now, but it's like the genders probably haven't been this divided. I mean, who knows, since suffrage. But I think, it's an interesting moment because it illustrates what's frustrating about liberals to me, which is that they take everything literally, and, like, the guys, like, they're fucking jokes, they're not literal fucking. It's not, and once again, it's a context thing, because within that context, people are looking at this guy, they don't know who the fuck he is. Nobody knew who the fuck Tony Hinchcliffe was, except for a bunch of, like, toxic incels that spend all their fucking time on the internet. Watch Kill Tony, stand-up comedian bros. That's the world they live in. They're roast, savage. They're used to that. That is the discourse of masculinity, in a way. Is this sort of, like, insult humor or something. Busting balls, right? That's a part of masculinity. It's like you need to be trained to fight as a man, right? And so you see this, the right wing, these people are, like, obsessed with combat. Rogan, he's a UFC fucking commentator. Of course, there's nowhere to fucking sit over here. God damn it. People have stolen my park. It's blown up because it's gone viral from my videos. Too many people have seen my park on my insanely popular YouTube videos. Okay, I have to be at Poetry Project early, Ashley, so I have to be there at 6:30. Okay? So God damn it. There's not a single fucking place to sit over here. Okay, I guess I'm gonna sit on this bench for a sec. I don't like that. As a young person, I was always confused or hurt when people would insult me to fucking, like my stepdad was really into that, or like bosses that I would have. It's like they have a way of just kind of like cracking on you or ribbing you or whatever it is. Okay, Ashley. Yeah, just keep me updated, all right? When I'm done, I'll be done, in 2 hours or whatever. So, And I have to be at Poetry Project at 6:30. So I would rather not discuss this on my fucking public broadcasting channel. You know? It's getting old. It's getting real fucking old. Okay, love you too. Maybe I'll just sit on this fucking playground. There's no children over here. Is it closed? My camera. Looks like it's locked or something. What the fuck? Why is it closed? Why are the playgrounds closed? Open the playgrounds. Oh God. Guess I'll just keep walking around. Well, I need to focus on this Tony Hinchcliffe thing. It's a very well because it's a nexus of a lot of the things I've been talking about, which is like this guy's really like a creature of the manosphere, right? Tony Hinchcliffe, the people who know who he is. Now everybody knows who the fuck he is. Because everybody thinks he's like this Nazi. With, you know, and like it's easy, I would say, to draw comparisons between like the Nazi rally and the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden. That's what the liberal media likes to do. They just fucking jump at the chance to compare any goddamn thing to Hitler. And they take things really fucking seriously. Like, they're taking it literally. They're taking the remarks that he, and once again, this is like something that constantly comes at the open mic. You know, you have poets, you have reasonable, sensitive, smart people that are used to a certain kind of discourse, and they don't know what's going on in these comedy clubs at these roast nights where people are just like saying the most, vile things about each other. As if it's like a fucking joke, and as if it's funny. Like, let's just pick. You know, the whole rest of the culture is saying, you know, we want to make up for like your insecurities or your weakness, whatever it is where you've been made fun of. You know, really, it feels like left-wing culture is really about like making up for like people that have traditionally been like laughed at, or you know, it's like, oh, we're gonna go out of our way to like make fat people feel like good because they're traditionally so, you know, and whereas comedy, it's like the complete opposite of that, where it's like, oh, this guy's fat, look how fat this fucking guy is. Whereas like it's kind of two sides of the same coin, where it's like they're both like making the person's whole fucking identity about whatever their shortcoming is or whatever way they're you know. And I guess the thing about comedy is like it comes with the privilege of a point of view. You know, like if you're Trump, if you're Mr. White Guy on top, and you just make fun of everybody who's lesser than you, it's like that's, you know, no one was making jokes about white guys until Trump, really. You know, it was like, because the point of view was the white guy. It's like, okay, we're going to make fun of, you know, there's every kind of racial fucking joke you can think of. There's every kind of fucking, you know, white being like the standard. Any deviation from that, it's like, oh, you're Jewish, you're cheap. Oh, you're Polish, you're stupid. Oh, you're black, you like to eat watermelon or whatever. And it's like, you know, wokeness and the left wing, as far as you can, it's like that's the only, you know, that's the biggest difference in the politics. Is that like left wing people want to go out of their way to sort of like make amends and try to find like, I don't know, like a way to apologize for this kind of like, you know, trauma, or like, people being, well, it's, I don't know, it's just like that's the way that it's presumed that people are oppressed, is like however the fuck they look, however the fuck, you know, they're marginalized. that's like some kind of chronic definition of those people and kind of like a limitation as to who they are and who they can become. You know, I mean, so Kill Tony, they just did a fucking event at Madison Square Garden. To me, the Trump event was similar to the point where it's like, I mean, the people fucking doing these Madison Square Garden arena shows, a lot of them are comedians, right? This has become like a normal thing. Dice Clay was like the fucking, you know, originator of playing Madison Square Garden, but it's like now it's like fucking Kill Tony's at Madison Square Garden, Louis C.K.'s at Madison Square Garden, fucking Chappelle's at Madison Square Garden, you know, or now all these fucking Two Bears, One Cave, like all the Rogan comedians are in these arenas, right? I think it's probably easier to fill an arena for comedy because the tickets are cheaper, right? Like they don't charge as much to see fucking Chappelle as they do to see Taylor Swift, I imagine. I'm not positive about that, but I'm sure it's probably much, much, much cheaper. Because there's just way less overhead with a comedy show. There's way less production. There's no musicians or band or anything. Maybe I'll just go over to the river or something. And so, like, Trump is really just another one of these guys. He's just another one of these fucking, like, podcaster, you know, internet troll, fucking stand-up comic, roast fucking bros. And I guess the word is that Barron Trump is the one that sort of got them involved in, like, this podcast sphere. Right, I guess his friends, you know, all these young edgelord, that's what they do. They spend their time on Xbox Live, and I guess they're probably watching Rogan, or they're watching Two Bears, One Cave, or whatever the fuck it is. The guy on Kick, whoever that guy is on Kick that Trump did the interview with, you know, that was way before, right? Or Theo Vaughn. You know, my little brother is super into goddamn Theo Vaughn. And so, I mean, the first time I saw Tony Hinchcliffe, it was on that show Crashing, which I watched last year, the Pete Holmes, and it's a Judd Apatow thing, so it's a lot like Apatow's movies and shit. But Hinchcliffe plays, I think, like a version of himself. He's like a roast. That's what he's like famous for. You know, he's famous for being like this sort of like pithy. A lot of, you know, the people that roast him say that he's closeted gay. So he's got this kind of like acerbic, almost like gay guy, like wit or something. I don't know if he's witty. He's just mean. You know, like a lot of gay guys can be mean. They'll pick, you know, I don't know if he actually is gay, but that's like the, you know, within the context of like all the bros and kind of like fat beer comedians, he seems like this gay little, young Sheldon. So anyway, I thought he was like an actor. I didn't even know he was actually a comedian. But then, of course, I sort of keyed into the Kill Tony thing because it's an open mic show, right? So how fucking open mics are at sort of like the crux of the culture. Because Trump is such a live performer, and he does the weave, right? On Rogan, he was talking about how you have to be a genius to do the weave. He does the weave, which is what I do. On this, I do the same thing. I'm doing the weave, you know? I mentioned this. I mentioned Bram Stoker's Dracula. I'll weave that back in, right? There's West Beth. And then certain things you just forget about. They never get woven back in. That's the beauty of the weave. You can just talk about whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Oh, it's a weave. This is all intentional. This structure is all intentional. Fuck, am I gonna get this fucking highway noise? I guess I don't really want the highway noise. God damn it. We'll see. Just need a place to sit the fuck down. There should be benches everywhere in our society. You know, I think this is one of the anti-homeless architecture things. One of the problems with America, everything is like, they don't want you to sit there. They want to charge you to sit there. They don't want homeless people sleeping there. They don't want homeless people hanging out there. It's like, so everything is just completely hostile to like loitering, quote unquote. It's like, what do you think life is? As Americans, we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That includes loitering in my book. Ashley's favorite word, loitering. Pro-loitering, hardcore loitering. I'm gonna talk more about this Tony Hinchcliffe thing. I just want to get across the West Side Highway first, because I don't want all my audio marred by the highway noise. But I mean, so you know, I think part of the problem is that like we're shunning these guys, right? These guys are just being, you know, the gender divide is growing bigger. And why are they this way? You know, why the fuck did this guy think? First of all, the jokes just weren't funny. You know, like that's what I feel like is kind of like the most important criticism of this is like, he just didn't get away with it. You know, it's like the jokes were just kind of mean and racist. And they weren't really jokes. It was just like, yeah, Puerto Rico's a island of garbage. And black people eat watermelon. It's like, dude, come on. That's the oldest fucking cliche. But, you know, these comedians, they go out, they do these fucking roasts. A lot of the people that I know, that I see, or that have done the open mic, do these fucking roasts. It's normal. I mean, I was shocked, right? Like, I thought going into this comedy open mic scene, it was going to be like the poetry open mic scene where it was like supportive. You know, people, they were shows, you know, people are listening to each other. People are, you know, wanting to laugh at each other's jokes and like have a good time. And it's like, it's just not that way at all. And the first time I did the Grizzly Pear, or, you know, it's pretty normal at this point, but the first time I did the Grizzly Pear open mic, like every other comedian that went after me, went after me. They all fucking, maybe I'll sit. You can see anything that way, or what's a better shot here? Like this. Right there. That's kind of good. For autumn, I hope that traffic noise isn't too loud. It's definitely there, but whatever. There's nobody fucking sitting over here. Bleecker Park, you can't get a seat. There's 2 people at every bench. Here it's like, because that highway is just so strangulating to the waterfront. It just separates people from the water so completely. Okay, so yeah, first time I went to Grizzly Pear open mic, I was just shocked at how mean everybody was. Because there's so many people trying to do comedy, they just want to weed anybody out they can. And it's become this like full contact sport. And I don't remember it being that way. This is something I've talked about on the stream a lot. It's just like comedy culture. Why is it so mean-spirited? Why is it fucking racist? Why is every fucking joke about the goddamn Holocaust or some racial stereotype, or it's like there's a lot of fucking ways to be humor that don't rely on, oh, Puerto Rico. And it's like, so on the one hand, like, I understand what the guy was trying to do, because in a certain way, this is just like a metaphorical, this is like the love language of comedians. For whatever reason, they're fucked up, trauma, whatever it is, and it's one of the problems with our fucking society. You know, this is like when I said this fucking thing about comedy is the stand-up, or stand-up comedy is the poetry of fascists. It's like, this is what I fucking meant. You know, it's like there is this weird fascist component. It's like they like beating people up. They like making fun of people. And that's a part of America. I mean, that is a part of masculinity. It's a part of, like, here's how you get strong and be a man. It's like we make fun of each other. You know, we have football practice. We have two-a-days. You know, we traumatize ourselves into some kind of weird, like, cauterization or callous against, you know, it's a way of preparing for war. You know, a lot of fucking male activities are just like a way to prepare for war, because war is such a huge part of masculinity and has been, as far as we can remember, combat fighting. It's a man's job to be the hunter, right? Hunter-gatherer society. We're the ones that are supposed to go out and kill things, kill animals, kill other people. You know, we're at a point in human history where, like, the resistances to a lot of our adaptive behaviors have, like, gone away. And so we have these kind of leftover things where it's like, why are guys mean? Why is there this, like, roast comedy culture where it's like, or like they get fired up by Trump? You know, they like the tribalism. They like the brutality of the confrontation, the polarizing. I mean, on the flip side, the idea of a roast or the idea of comedy is to, like, tell the truth, right? It's like you're calling it like you see it. You're just and calling bullshit. And the idea is, if you're funny, then that's like a tolerable way to deal with something that would be otherwise, like, painful to talk about. So I think with Trump, right, it's like he has this air of, like, he's telling it like it is, and he's funny because he fucking just says shit that other people won't say because they're trying to be PC, or they're trying to, like, beat around the bush, and Trump just, like, he's not like the other politicians. He doesn't have to fucking, like, kowtow to donors. He can just fucking say, you know, we're building a wall, or Venezuela's a shithole country. You know, to be honest, Tony Hinchcliffe's remark was not that different than saying shithole country. You know, it's basically saying the same thing. Puerto Rico's an island of garbage. Trump was very fucking derogatory toward Puerto Rico during the hurricane, right, with the paper towels and shit. And Trump is Butcher Bill. You know, they're nativists. Like, that is the way that they build up, like, an us and them mentality, a team kind of, like, it's insecurity is a big part of it. It's like Trump is insecure, so he has to constantly be attacking other people. Right? That's what Roy Cohn said. That was attack, attack, attack. You know, if somebody attacks you, you attack them back 10 times harder. It's like, that's comedy. That's insult comedy. That's like schoolyard fucking tactics. It's like, how are you going to defend yourself? You know, like, a lot of the Trump stuff just returns us to that kind of base. You know, it is like a nostalgia for, like, primitivism. Does fighting need to be a part of our lives anymore? Haven't we evolved beyond the need? But it's like, but at the same time, it's like, what are men for? What are we built for? How, you know, how do we stay, you know, and this is like, the gender parity is, like, totally out of whack, right? Because men are finding them suddenly, like, they're, like, obsolete, to be honest. women can do everything themselves. They can impregnate without a man. Just get, you know, in vitro or whatever. Or at least that's how it seems. So it's like, a lot of what these comedians say is like completely heinous. It's like, that's the art of it. It's like a horror movie, you know? It's like a fucking, it's like torture porn. It's like the art of comedy is like the tastelessness and the racist. I'm not defending it. I mean, when I was a little kid, we got this book, Truly Tasteless Jokes. I think by Blanche Nod is the pen name of the author. Truly Tasteless Jokes. We found it in the book loft, I think, in Columbus. My mom was doing some literary event. We went there, and this was the book we came home with, the Truly Tasteless Jokes. And it's all just racial jokes, jokes about Helen Keller. You know, it's funny because you're not supposed to say it. And granted, that's like a prick point of view. Like, that is a point of view of, like, privilege, I guess. Is like, hey, I'm the boss. I can make jokes about Helen Keller, the deaf, blind bitch. What's she gonna do about it? I mean, partially with that, the gospel of that is like, you make fun of everybody, right? You don't just go after one. That's what makes it unbalanced, supposedly. When you just go after, when you punch down. You're not supposed to punch down. You know, you're supposed to, you make fun of people that you admire, or people that, you know, like, that's also a thing that's implicit, I think, in, like, roast humor, is, like, there is, like, a, you're kidding, you know, there's, like, a wink, like, it comes from a place of love, you know, at least, like, with the Dean Martin celebrity roast, you know, when you saw those guys doing it, it was, like, they were all buddies, the Rat Pack, like, that's how they communicate. They make fun of Sammy because he's black and Jewish, he's only got one eye. They make fun of Dean Martin because he's a drunk. You know, whereas, like, I guess Frank Sinatra, how do you make fun of Frank Sinatra? You know, Frank Sinatra's like white male privilege. And that's like the seat of the comedian, I guess. Is like, you have the king and you have the jester. Don Rickles is like the jester. He's the roast master. He's the one who tells the truth. Like, even in Shakespeare you see this, right? Like, the king has the fool. The fool is the one who can say things to him that nobody else can say because they're jokes, but it's all, you know, but he needs that person. You know, he needs that person to tell him the shit that the yes men and the sycophants are afraid to say. And to be honest, to some degree, that is how the Democrats come across. You know, the Democrats come across as like disingenuous or like not dealing with the problem. You know, it's like, at least Trump is like admitting that America sucks and we have third world infrastructure and it's full of bad, you know, I don't know. The Democrats act like they're the good guys, and, you know, and I think people are just so cynical about the government that, like, they don't really see it that way. It's like, oh, Clinton, you know, fucking bombed all those people in Bosnia, and Obama drone striked people, and they're both equally bad. Both sides are equally shitty. Whereas, like, if you're just not a total idiot, you know, this is a big part of the problem. Is a large part of the electorate is just total idiots, and they don't really even understand what they've lived through. You know, like, people really think that because of, on election night 2020, the early returns from the networks reported that, like, Trump was up in certain states because the early returns were coming from in-person voting and from districts that were, like, favorable to Trump. The people who were watching didn't really understand that, like, it takes time to count all the fucking precincts. And so just because Trump is leading with 1% of the vote in, or 9% of the vote in, or whatever it is, doesn't mean he won the fucking state. It doesn't mean that the Democrats cheated. It's like, wait a minute, Trump was winning. He was winning by a lot, and then, like, all of a sudden all these Democrat votes came in later in the night. It's like, because they were cheating. They saw that Trump was winning, and it's like, no, they weren't cheating. It's just like the votes fucking come in later the TV network shouldn't fucking report the early returns because people are too stupid to understand that. They call things prematurely. And so people, and this is like what Trump's doing now, right? With all of this like fake polling and the propaganda that like he could win or he's probably going to win. The betting percentages, I think, favor Trump. He's like 58% favored to win. It's because like when he does lose, they can say, wait a minute, the Democrats cheated. Look, all the fucking polls said that we were up and the Democrats won. It's like they fucking cheated. And his voters are stupid enough to believe that. You know, they don't have critical thinking skills. They think, oh, my life sucks now because everything's so expensive. That's Kamala's fault. That's Biden's fault. They're not thinking about, oh, Trump signed a $5 trillion fucking stimulus package. And it takes time for the presidential effect on the economy to kick in. People think, oh, the economy was great when Trump was president. I was doing great when Trump was president. It's like, yeah, because of fucking Obama. Obama fixed everything that George W. Bush fucked up. Put the country back on track. The stock market was doing good. That's why people were having a good time when Trump was president. Not because anything he was fucking doing. But people just think they associate it with him because that was the time in their life when he was the president. They don't understand that, like, Trump put the fucking stimulus package in March 2020. Biden got elected November 2020. He didn't even take office until January 2021. It took time for that inflation to explode. It took time for all of that money and for the lag of price gouging. You know, they just kept price gouging until they got all the money back. You know, the people who run these companies are fucking stupid. They don't understand. Like, we don't have any money left. You know, like, okay, you could sustain, like, those high prices for a little while because of the stimulus package, because of the unemployment and shit, the PUA. That money is all gone. You know, like, we're back to where we were. We're even worse than we were before, right? Because the inflation is high. So we have the same amount of fucking money that we had before. It's just everything is way more fucking expensive now because they jacked the prices up to take all the money back from us. And now we're broke again like we were before, like we always have been our entire fucking lives. You know, the economy is designed to keep us broke. That's what economics is. That's what capitalism is. They want to give you just enough money to, like, stay desperate and to force you to keep working. They don't want you to have anything extra. Otherwise, you wouldn't work. That's why everybody quit their fucking jobs during the pandemic. That's why they're trying to get rid of the remote work, get everybody back in the office. That's why they're not hiring anybody, because they want to punish people for having it good for a little while, for giving the worker the advantage. You know, that was a huge mistake to them, was the fact that the worker actually had the advantage for a fucking second. Now they got to make sure that can never happen again. But let's get Trump back in office because he's good on business. He'll make our gas prices go down. Drill, baby, drill. I saw this video. It was about this woman who was in the touring company of a chorus line in the 1970s. She got paid $550 a week in the 1970s to be in the touring company of a chorus line. And she bought an apartment on Central Park West, I think for like $10,000 or $15,000 or something. The woman who was making the video was talking about now she was in some touring company of some Broadway show. They make the same amount of fucking money, I think, as they did in the 70s. I think she made $550 a week in this Broadway fucking show. And she said that she pays $20,000 like a year in rent for her apartment. You know, it's not a one bedroom, it's some fucking apartment way out in whatever, Brooklyn. And so it's like, this is something I harp on constantly. No one is listening. Like, the material conditions have been completely destroyed by the ultra capitalists to allow people to be artists in that way. In the 70s, boom, you could be in the touring company of Broadway show. You know, you're on stage, you're getting better at your craft, you're getting paid to do it, and you own a fucking apartment on Central Park West that you can pay for from that job that you live in by yourself. It's like nobody today knows what that's like. Certainly not just like a person in the fucking touring company of like Broadway shows. It's like nobody owns a fucking apartment in Manhattan unless they're a trust fund kid and or a billionaire or whatever the fuck it is. And so it's like, we just can't develop. We can't, we're in this, you know, acting is like for rich people only. Being an artist is for rich people only. This is why there's no discourse in the fucking arts about class. You know, it's all about extremely woke politics, extremely social justice warrior, people using their perceived marginalization to get clout, to get position, to get prestige. And they look like winners, but it's like, you know, we are in a Great Depression. I don't know why the media is not calling it that. It's like no one can afford groceries. You know, people are paying way more of their income in rent because they're getting exploited by the owners. And the government isn't doing anything to fucking step in and help them. And I get it, like Biden and Kamala have been the fucking president for 4 years, but I think their policies have been better. You know, it could be real bad. They're taming the inflation. And so, you know, you have, there's just nothing really for like young men to like fucking hang their heads on. It's like they're all insult comics. They all want to roast each other. They're all savage. They're all, and so I think Trump, they thought they could tap into that with Tony Hinchcliffe. You know, he's got Kill Tony. I think they thought, you know, and I think their Madison Square Garden rally, that was like Trump's comedy headlining fucking fate. You know, it was his big birthday party for his you know, it's almost the climax of the presidential campaign. I think it was just a gift he wanted to give to himself. It's his home city. I don't think he really has a prayer in hell of winning New York. I think he wants to make it seem that way. So when he fucking loses, it's like the fake media just is lying. It's like, oh, but Trump was in play in New York. You know, he went and did the rally at Madison Square Garden. He was in a bodega in the Bronx. It was like he could have, you know, he could have won. They cheated. They stole the election. You have to stop the steal. But it was just a big ego. He's addicted to applause. You know, in Madison Square Garden, it's completely a name thing. It's a prestige thing. It's like, you know, he wants to be one of these comedy guys. He is one of these comedy guys. He's like the dragon lord of all these fucking bro podcasters. Because the left has completely turned their back on those people, you know, and well, not only that, but the rhetoric in the media has just been like, and it's something I've complained about and suffered through myself. It's just like, if you're a guy, you're a piece of shit. If you're a white man, you're a piece of shit. You're toxic masculinity, and you don't have anything else to hang your hat on. It's like, you're not making any money. You don't have a job. You're not the breadwinner. You're living with your parents. You know, you're not living in a woke blue city or whatever. You don't have some email job, some white-collar professional job. You know, it's like, if you're lucky, you're an HVAC guy or something. Or an edgelord podcaster on Twitch, or a Twitch streamer. But you're probably not any of those things. You're probably just a fucking loser. And so you're probably suicidal. You probably are Joker mode, right? This is Joker mode America. Everybody's obsessed with Heath Ledger's Joker character because they're cracking up. It's a hysterical reaction. It's a hostile reaction to a society that's turned its back on these people. You know, who, not only that, but they're being told that they are privileged, right? They are the fucking problem because they have too much power. It's like they don't feel like they have any power. And so what do? They fucking have these really acidic, acerbic, mean-spirited, but like, it's just a joke, man. They're just mogging you or whatever. Take a chill pill. You know, the idea with like ball busting, it's like they're trying to get a rise out of you. And if they can get a rise out of you, you like pay, you have to be unreactive. Like the idea is like you're supposed to stay cool. But I mean, when you're using those kind of tactics, when you're bullying people, when you're insulting people, it does kind of take civilized people off guard. You know, your average person is sort of like, whoa. You know, you see it at the open mic time and time again. These comedians go up and say something that they think is like sort of normal, and everybody in the audience goes, whoa, 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 what the fuck? That is really fucked up. You know, I think stand-up comedy is one of the few places where these guys try to take action and try to be something. They think they can go on stage and be, you know, Chris D'Elia or Anthony Jeselnik or, you know, these Comedy Central roasts, right? That sort of plays into the whole thing. The thing, and this has been covered in the media, but the thing about the Comedy Central roast is they were more mean-spirited. With the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast, it's like it was like these guys were all buddies. This is just how they, you know, they can do it because they're friends, you know? And you take the piss out of somebody. It's a way of head shrinking, right? You roast somebody so their head doesn't get too big. Hey, you think you're hot shit? Well, you're short, or you're bald, or you're Jewish, or you're whatever, you know? You're Puerto Rican. I mean, come on. It's stupid. I've never understood it myself. As a child, you know, when I had bosses, or like I said, my stepdad would sort of like make fun of me and then be like, hey, relax. Just, you know, it's like Goodfellas, right? It's like a mafia thing. Sopranos, they're breaking each other's balls. Go get your fucking shine box, right? Hey, just go get your fucking shine box. I mean, Joe Pesci killed the guy. That's what happened when Joe Pesci got roasted. He killed the guy. He knifed him. They beat the fuck out of him because he's made, right? He's full-blooded Italian. They're, you know, Jimmy Conway's half Irish. Henry Hill is half Irish, so they can't be made. That's sort of like a privilege thing. You know, it's like Billy Batts can roast Tommy because he is the aristocracy. You know, he's made. He is privileged. You know, he's got the alpha upper class. So it's like, you are just a fucking shoe shine boy, which is sort of like saying he's black. You know, that's kind of you know, it's a way, or like that's part of the subtext. It's like you are the subservient, you're gonna spit shine. This guy fucking spit shine my shit. He'd make your shoes look like fucking mirror. He was so desperate and so lowly. He would kneel before me, you know. He can say that because he's Billy Batts, but they fucking kill his ass. And that's what happened to Tony Hinchcliffe. Now he's the most hated man in America. Everybody thinks he's a fucking Nazi. And maybe, I mean, he's just a bad comedian. I don't know. He is like a fucking lapdog. You know, these people are all pathetic. I don't get it. They should, you know, they should be writing poetry. They should be reading poetry. You know, I'm not surprised because our culture has been polluted and dumbed down and watered down and wasted. You know, we live in a toxic waste fucking country. And they dump a bunch of garbage into young men. It's all energy drinks, Monster, extreme sports, you know, Tony Hawk dressed as Larry David for Halloween, Tony Hawk's pro skater, fucking 16. Not that there's anything wrong with that shit, but it's like, they kind of used up young people and sold, you know, when I was a kid in the 90s and 2000s, the number one demographic, right, was male, like 18 to 35, like young male, South Park. Everything was like this radical, trying to sell you fucking adrenaline, you know, crossfire. And Trump is completely like post-80s, post-action movie, post-Reagan, amp everything up, super stimulation, huge guns. Hulk Hogan, right, is at the fucking rally. Pro wrestling, steroids, AR-15s, 9/11, Iraq, Afghanistan, Hummers, Kenny Powers, big ass titties, big fake boobs, spray tans. You know, like the trickle down economics is a lie. The money is not being reinvested, and so these young men are left to sort of be exploited by these things that are completely bad for them. You know, all the food, Doritos Locos, taco. I saw at Taco Bell the other day, they have this giant Cheez-It. It's a Cheez-It taco. It's just it's a big Cheez-It that they put like it's a nacho, I guess. They put like meat and cheese on it. So it's like, but it's a fucking Cheez-It. And you can literally order the Cheez-It by itself. It's $4. You just get a giant Cheez-It. Like, everything is stunt food. It's like, this shit has consequences. You're just dumping garbage into people. You're dumping carcinogens, empty calories, synthetic chemicals, weird flavor additives. You know, that shit is all gonna come back to haunt us. And look at, I mean, Trump is like the living embodiment of that, right? Just this big, bloated, bloviating, unhealthy, but like you can't kill him. He's just, you know, he's got good doctors or good genes, I guess. That's what it comes down to, good genes. Which is another kind of eugenics and another kind of white supremacy. I mean, literally, good genes. You're saying there are people out there with bad genes. And they die, they get weeded out. It's survival of just like the most obnoxious. It can't last forever, you know? And so you have a lot of lost young men, you know, like they're not trying to be writers. They don't have any heroes. Who are their heroes? You know, fucking superhero shit. That's just more fascism, more worship of, you know, Batman's just a billionaire. He's just another rich guy. He's just another Tony Stark, right? Everybody, Elon Musk is Tony Stark. Or like, you know, just, it's media misinterpretation, right? A lot of this stuff. Like whatever like a simplified kind of like appealing story is, that's what the public wants to believe, you know? It's like print the legend, right? And so people, like, it became fun for them to think, oh, Tony Stark, he's a billionaire. He's like this gadget kind of playboy guru. That's like Elon Musk, right? Like Elon Musk's sort of PR campaign about he's this genius tech wizard, rocket man. It's all bullshit. He's a moron. His fucking scream at the MSG rally, Jesus Christ. That was so cringe. The dude is so, you know, he might be the most cringe person alive. It was just a parade of douchebags. The Madison Square Garden rally, it will go down in history as just a parade of douchebags. They should have got Dice. I think Tony Hinchcliffe was like a bad choice. Trump has already distanced himself. He's like, I don't know that guy, I never met that guy. They had Dr. Phil to talk about cyberbullying. Trump's the ultimate fucking bully. And the edgelords are the ultimate goddamn cyber bullies. But it's like Kill Tony as a guy who does the Dr. Phil. It's just like jock humor, or I don't know, stupid. They should have got Shane Gillis. Why didn't they have Shane Gillis? They probably asked him. He probably said, probably should stay away from that. He wisely chose. But Tony Hinchcliffe was down to do... Yeah, I mean, so the media narrative, right, is like I'm saying, the Democrats are sort of taking it too literally, which I think is unfair. I know that sounds insane, but it's like... I mean, granted, like, I don't know. What the dude said was fucking racist and vile and just, like, bullshit. And that goes for most of comedy culture, in my opinion. But... within their culture, like I'm saying, that's just like the material of, it's shock, you know, and it's like gore, you know, like it's part of their fucking, it's like that thing, it's like, I don't see blood, I see red, you know. That's what Godard said about, or some fucking filmmaker said that about blood in his movies. It's like, it's not blood, it's red. And it's like, that's what these roast comedians, it's like, there's an art to that. That, to be honest, it is like kind of over the line. It is kind of like, I don't know, black metal or something, or like, you know, it's rough. It's like UFC. It's like these people are actually fucking fighting, you know, like it's almost like, but that's what guys are into. They like watching football. They like big motherfuckers giving each other CTE. They like watching wrestling and people hit each other with chairs. That's an action movie, you know. It's a Three Stooges movie, you know. Violence, bass. I think it's a way of dealing with like the pain of life. It's preparing ourselves for combat, for dealing with. You know, we do live in like an era of convenience, comfort. We can order things. And so it is a mystery why these guys are so like brutal on each other. It's like, it's not necessary. Like, why not just be fucking nice? Find another way to be funny rather than like, and Trump has totally emboldened this strain in the American, like before it was like a minority, and the internet, all these tech bros, but also just like, you know, the supposed free speech, right? Like, I do think there's some truth to like, you know, before it's like these people wouldn't have much of an audience, you know, no one would platform them. They'd be on a street corner, no one would be listening to them. Or their friends would just be like, all right, shut the fuck up about aliens or whatever the fuck it is you're talking about, you know. The earth is flat. Okay, whatever, man. Like, just shut up. Like, whereas now it's like on the internet, they get a huge audience. They seem as legit as anything else. People can't tell the fucking difference. People believe it. They'll believe that, you know, the vaccine was a fucking chip. And there's aliens. You know, it's like, why are people so obsessed with fucking aliens? It's a distraction. Elon Musk says there's aliens probably walking among us right now. You know, it's just like, maybe there are, but it's another conspiracy theory to distract us from real solutions. Oh, it's aliens. It's aliens are doing this. That's the only way to explain like why everything's insane and surreal and fucked up. It's fucking aliens. We can't deal with like the real problems we have, you know? We can't come up with like real solutions to like, well, wait a minute. Maybe it's the fact that Elon Musk has $300 billion and I have nothing and he's a fucking moron. He's a racist moron. He's not even a U.S. citizen. He's breaking the law. Put him in jail. Paying people to vote. It's Butcher Bill, you know? It's completely Butcher Bill. And Maybe it's the fact that this asshole has $300 billion and they don't, the reason why America's infrastructure sucks is because they don't tax these cocksuckers and reinvest it in the public good. It's just privatize everything. We own it. We own it. We own it. We're not going to pay taxes. We're finding ways out of taxes. There's no inheritance tax. This wealth is going to be generational now. No one can rise up. There's a caste system. But yeah, it's fucking aliens, dude. It's an alien conspiracy. And, I mean, roasting is just another kind of deflection. It's another kind of pointing the finger. I hate that it's popular. I hate that these places on McDougal Street and Bleecker Street are full of, like, the most vile, like, Fox News comedians that aren't funny, that are really fucking weird people. They're mean. And they're, like, they're asking people to accept something which is unacceptable. Which is, like, we are in a new paradigm. It's like we don't base our jokes on fucking race or like I don't know. You got to figure out a way to make it work, you know? And that guy didn't do that. I think he bombed, right? We've seen it a million fucking times. He bombed. It was that simple. He fucking bombed. He didn't read the room. He didn't understand the angle at which he was coming at it. His jokes were just mean. And like, if you take them literally, which is what the media is going to do at like a political campaign rally, they're not understanding that it's like the art of roasting, like it's horrorcore rap or something. You know, like I said, what's implicit in it is like part of roasting is like we're all shitty. It's it's cutting everybody down to size. It's saying we all have defects. Nobody's perfect. Trump, didn't they do a roast of his ass? And so, you know, to some degree, it's like it's counterintuitive. You know, it's something that like it serves like some kind of weird like survival purpose, taking people down to size, keeping their ego in check. I'm on the West Side Highway. Is it loud? Is the highway loud? Or can you hear me? I hope people can hear me. I'm in New York City on the West Side Highway here. See, there's, that's kind of nice. Let's do that. There we go. Yeah. Let me get more of that yellow in there. But, you know, I think it's going to work in this guy's favor. It's like, it's going to make him famous, you know? Like, he's never going to do any political thing. To me, it's like more egregious to say it's Stephen Miller talk. It's like that guy is actually going to be in charge of shit. Tony Hinchcliffe is going to go and do his fucking roast YouTube fucking show to all the Lost Boys on fucking Twitch or whatever. And Stephen Miller might be making policies. Like, to me, it was the biggest bomb since Kramer. You know? But, like, that's the thing about comedy is, like, it can go really, really, really badly. I mean, a lot of times it feels like you got to run out of the room because people are going to come after you because you piss them off or something. But it's like there's certain fucking people that like that shit. They like this kind of like hardcore fucking... And especially, I mean, it's kind of being revisionist in this like woke moment up until about 2016. You know, it wasn't like everybody was scared shitless about getting canceled and like saying the wrong thing and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now it's like everybody's obsession. And so humor, you know, 20, 30, 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. That's what it was. They did blackface, for Christ's sakes. That's like the foundation of American goddamn culture. Why? It's insanity. I'm not, excusing it. But I'm like shocked. Why are all the clubs in McDougal Street full of, not necessarily a Comedy Cellar, but like some of the other ones? Like I said, I did Grizzly Pear. All these people came after me. It was just mean. It's like, you people are so miserable and hostile. That's a part of comedy. I guess that was part of why, when I was a kid, 7th, 8th grade, whatever, when I was really into comedy, part of the reason why I stopped being so obsessed with it was because, like, the people that I knew that were really funny, like, it was like a weapon to them. They did use it to, like, dig at you, get under your skin, say things that would sort of, like, stick with you. That were, like, I still remember to this day. They used it like a knife, and I didn't like that. I'm not that kind of person. I didn't want to do that. Is that what fucking comedy is? It's just like, that's what it feels like every comedian thinks their job is. They just got to get up on, at least that I see at open mics, is like they got to get up on stage and call bullshit wherever they see it. And say the quiet part loud or something. And it usually goes very badly. And it's usually like very mean. And it's like something that maybe would have gone better unsaid. Like, the idea of comedy is you're supposed to like make people feel better and make them laugh and feel good. You don't necessarily need to be like a racist prick to do that. Even if you're like some kind of assassin of like, but I don't know, maybe that is the funniest shit. And like, it is cathartic, like, the truth shall set you free. If it is hard to find a person who will speak the truth to you, I think. People do try to candy coat stuff or sugarcoat it, or a lot of PC language is, you're trying to inhibit people. They got to police themselves and pick and choose, and so they get inhibited. They get, they're discouraging themselves from being natural because they think, I might say the wrong thing, or I'm a person of privilege, or whatever the fuck. I should just shut up, or I'm bad. I'm bad. My whole life needs to be like some fucking guilt, conciliation or whatever. Performative conciliation, endless land acknowledgement. And so I think you see anybody with like a conscience, or like who perceives of themselves as like a marginalized person, or like a sensitive person, the college I don't know, like, they like became woke, and they became overly sensitive because they wanted to be good people. They wanted to do the right thing. And so when you see like this roast culture come into contact with that, you're just like aghast. I saw Aubrey Plaza come out. She's like, I'm a Puerto Rican woman. My grandma's Puerto Rican, and fuck that guy, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, she's a comedian. But Jon Stewart is somebody who came up in New York in the 80s, 90s. He performed at Comedy Cellar. He performed on McDougal Street. He's familiar with the culture of this. His take was sort of like, you can't really blame that guy because that's what he does, He's a roast comedian. I think he could have, he could have done what he does and assimilated it a little better. into the program like Hulk Hogan did. But he just bombed. I don't think it's going to ruin his career. Like I said, I think he's just going to get more famous. Everybody knows who he is now. You know, publicity is like power in the attention economy, especially. Now more than ever, maybe. You know, that guy how are there going to be more people watching Kill Tony now? He'll probably be a guest on Gutfield or something. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, fuck anybody that would go to the Trump thing. But like I said, there's this continuum in the manosphere. And okay, I should probably talk about the Trump-Rogan interview too, because we watched that. We watched the whole fucking thing. I gotta say, it was extremely underwhelming. Joe Rogan didn't take him to task about anything. He didn't ask him any serious questions. He basically just let the guy do another campaign stop. And it wasn't that interesting. The beginning was sort of interesting where he was talking... The questions where he was asking about, like, what was it like when you got elected and all of that. That was interesting because it put you in Trump's perspective, and it was just like he didn't even expect it. He was surprised as anybody. So he was talking about how surreal it was to be in the White House and shit. You know, that was interesting. That's something you can't get from anybody else. You know, it's like you got this guy in the fucking studio after years and years and years of like people hyping this or the possibility of this. It's like a dream matchup, Rogan and Trump. It's like Batman and Superman. They're like Batman and Spider-Man. It's a crossover. And it's like he didn't ask him anything. He didn't ask him about January 6th. He didn't ask him about like vaccines. He didn't ask him about stimulus, inflation. You know, it's like he didn't ask him about Epstein. He didn't ask him about fucking Hunter's laptop. Yeah. So it was a lot of softballs. Yeah. They broed out on fucking UFC for like 45 minutes. You know, I do think things have taken like a turn for like, more brutal in a way is, that was part of their debate was like, is boxing more brutal than UFC? You know, like boxing is like headshots. You know, now what we know about CTE, that's like a huge concern now, is protecting. Okay, I've got 20% battery, so I will wrap up pretty soon. You know, playing rough. They want to encourage violence. They want people to get accustomed to more and more roughness. You know, like Trump wanted January 6th to be like a violent coup. He didn't want it to be like this social media fucking bonanza of like photo op for content. He didn't mean it to be a content spree. He wanted to hang Mike Pence. And so he wants to encourage, you know, and so I think like roasting is a sort of violence. I guess maybe it makes you tough. My dad used to hit me and made me tough. I don't know. Is it the pussification? Is it soft times make soft men or whatever, hard times? Soft men make for hard times make for, I don't know the fucking bro wisdom. But, you know, as corny as it sounds, it's like there does need to be like somebody that gives a fuck about, it's like Robert Bly, A Place for Men, masculinity. I don't want that to be like my milieu per se, but it's like, you know, the intersectionality, it's like they've kind of cordon themselves off into their own bubble. They don't really want white guys there unless they're 6'4". And so it's like, that's why a lot of guys are turning, and Trump is trying to weaponize that, by getting in these podcasts, by going on Rogan, talking about UFC, just relating. It was just boring. Rogan really seemed like he just kind of laid back. But, I do think there is dark money, gray money funding these, fucking Tim Dillon had J.D. Vance on. It's like, these guys have been right-wing the whole fucking time. Why is everything on YouTube so fucking right-wing? Or at least everything geared toward men. This is the pipeline. This is why I'm on here. This is why I have no fucking audience. Because these bro podcasters, there are people funding it. There are people that want Rogan. That they are plants, in a way. Jordan Peterson. Theo Vaughn, fucking Tim Dillon, Shane Gillis. This new kind of like frat pack of podcaster, kind of alt-right, pseudo, they're just, to be honest, they're just kind of old-fashioned guys, and so it doesn't feel like there's any place for that in the Democratic Party. There's no working class rhetoric. Nobody gives a fuck about unions. Even Hollywood, right? They've done these strikes. They might have killed themselves with these strikes because private enterprise just has so much power. They're outsourcing all of the production now. Now they're filming, like, I forget what game show it was, The Masked Singer, or some fucking game show. It's like they film it in Ireland because it's cheaper. The unions are too strong here. It's like the rich people don't want to pay. They don't want to give anything back. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to pay wages. They want to keep it all for themselves. And they're winning. The government is not making them. It's insane that in LA they're not making movies. It's like, why even live there? Why? LA should do every goddamn thing they possibly can to incentivize filmmaking in their own city. The place has no value. It's like Atlanta, Georgia has become the new fucking Hollywood because of tax rebates and shit. Okay, Ashley, I'll see you in a little while. Or New York, same thing. It's like these tax rebates. Who knew that was such a huge fucking incentive? That literally they'll move the entire goddamn production overseas. Okay, Ashley, love you. See you soon. They'd rather do that than pay a living wage to people. And, the Democrats aren't really fighting for that shit. Fighting for like trans fucking story time, which is such a fucking extreme manipulative issue. I'm sure things like that are encouraged by the right wing because it's so polarizing and it's such a small percentage of like. It's divisive. It's what, and it's not, that's not important or that people don't care about that. But it's like when you're telling men that they're the problem and they're pieces of shit. And so they just turn more and more inward. They have, they just play more fucking video games. And for some reason they're listening to long form podcasts. So it's like, they're thinking. Comedy is like a thought medium. That's what it is. That's why I'm interested in it. That's why I'm so disappointed that it's become like this gladiatorial kind of like idiocracy of meatheads. You know, it's like, where the fuck is sort of the George Carlin? Where's the modern day kind of like Elizabethan poet thespian comedian? Or, you know, where's the fucking Mitch Hedberg? It's just we get more and more kind of banal hype beast energy. More Andrew Schultz clones. And, you know, so Tony Hinchcliffe is like part of that string, you know, in these clubs. And that's what guys want to be for some reason. They look up to these guys. Or like you know, but at least they're trying something, I guess. You know, it takes a lot of courage to get up in front of people and try to be funny. It's about the hardest thing you can do, I would say, in show business. Right? It's a famous thing. Dying is easy, comedy is hard, right? It's like an adage about how hard comedy is. And especially if you're like face planting with your racist jokes. Then it gets really gnarly. And that's what I see time and time again. And I'm like, you know, it's because these guys spend all day watching South Park, all this shit that's just like based on race. It's like they need to be feeding themselves deeper stuff. They need to go to museums. You know, like look at Steve Martin. Steve Martin's the best comedian. He's like an art. He's a genius, like savant polymath. He plays the fucking banjo. He's like hanging out with fucking Peter Sheldall. He collects like, you know, Edward Hopper paintings and shit. He'll go to like Virginia to like an art museum just to look at some fucking obscure. You know, he's like a fucking aesthete. He's in the New Yorker. But it's like Rogan is into mixed martial arts and he has the worst fucking style. His set looks like a frat house from fucking hell. This ugly neon shit. It looks like the office of the video production company I worked in Ohio. It's like repurposed like barnwood and like bad neon, like bar sign. You might as well have like a poster of like the Rat Pack and some like cinder block furniture. It's so ugly. It's like, get some fucking taste. I don't know. Feed yourself art. You know, watch some fucking Criterion Channel. Even Film Bros, like, Jesus Christ, are they disappointing? It's like, you think Nolan is like the greatest? Like, I posted 5 greatest performance ever. It was Leonardo DiCaprio, number 1, Wolf of Wall Street. Number 2, Marlon Brando, The Godfather, which is a goated performance with the sauce. Don't get me wrong. But he was the Rizzler on that one. But Heath Ledger's the Joker. J.K. Simmons and Whiplash. Whiplash is like essential bro cinema. It's like, Jesus Christ. Watch some fucking Wim Wenders movies, for Christ's sake. Watch some new German cinema. Watch, watch The Straight Story. Watch every Godard film ever. Watch my vlogs, for Christ's sakes. Just subscribe to the Matt Proctor cult, okay? All the lost men out there. Just read poetry that's one thing that's good about like beat literature. I know people hate it, but it's like, that was something positive that men were doing. It's like they cared about nature, they cared about literature and art, and like, okay, it was sexual and brutish and kind of beastly, but they were pushing the boundaries. They were bisexual, they were gay, they were, at the time they were hanging out with a very diverse crowd, something that academics probably were not doing, to be honest. But they were also masculine and male and adventurous, and they represented positive models for how to be a man. And now it's just like all of those guys are turning to stand-up comedy. And Trump. an edgelord, sensationalized, overstimulation, hype beast, action movie, neon, video game. Even it's aggro. It's all aggro drift. Even fucking Harmony Korine's like, I'm gonna make my fucking movies out of video game footage. His fucking aggro drift looks like it was shot underwater. It was cool. It was cool as like an art piece. It was like an art installation. I hope some Twitch bros watch it, But, how do we bend the Twitch bros away from roast culture and kill Tony culture into poetry, into performance art, other ways of working out your male hostility, sexy ways that women find attractive. Women are never going to find you attractive with your racist humor. I'm sorry. Or your Trump, it's like, get in touch with your feminine side, get in touch with their sensitive side, your appreciation, your aesthetic side, watch slow TV, watch my vlogs, my nature vlogs, read poetry, go outside, stop playing fucking video games, stop playing violent video games, make things, for Christ's sakes. More than anything, just make things. What do guys love more than make things? Like, become a tinkerer. Get a little tool shop or something. Build things. Use your hands. Go out and talk to people. I mean, I encourage podcasting. I don't think the podcasting thing is like, everybody's like, oh, podcasting microphone should be illegal. It's like, at least they're doing something. They should listen more. They should go deeper. I don't know why I'm different than... Why am I not like a hype beast? Why am I not a broccoli head? Why am I not a Timothy Chalamet bro? Or a MAGA? I mean, even Kanye's fucking MAGA. I get the whole dragon energy thing, but I think it's a stronger thing to do to turn the other cheek, okay? It's like Rebel Without a Cause, like James Dean. It's... All right, Bruce Halliday. Watch from the beginning. All right, thanks for watching. Yeah, I'm going to get off. I'm at 10% battery, so I am going to get off pretty soon. Rebel Without a Cause, James Dean, he says something about it. It takes a strong person to be, I don't remember, bullied or, to not... I don't remember. Rebel Without a Cause is a great fucking movie. If you haven't seen that, it's like they had all these masculine role models in that generation. They had an overabundance, to be honest. It was a problem. There were too many white guys. But now it's like there aren't any. It's like all these superheroes, and it's like, where are the good male role models? I don't know. Is it Adam Driver? So we're losing people to roasting, to the manosphere. They don't want to listen to me. I'm a micro manosphere influencer. But I try, I do what I can to try to keep people. So, I can see it both ways, as in acting, they teach you to empathize with anybody, to try to figure out why somebody, and I think that's a liberal thing, and maybe a Catholic thing, but like trying to find the reasons why, rather than just being like, this person's bad, they're racist. It's like, well, why are they, and the Hinchcliffe thing, it's like, I think it's also lame to see the liberal media like take it too seriously and too literally. Like Jon Stewart, I think, took it the way it was meant to be taken, where it's like, this guy's not, if you're taking it literally, like, this guy's, like, nobody knows he's a comedian.
he could just as well be some politician. He looks like Stephen Miller. You know, he doesn't look like fucking Andrew Dice Clay. You know, he looks like some alt-right weirdo. You know, he looks like Himmler or something. And so to just hear him say that on the news, you're just going to think, Jesus Christ, this guy is a vile racist. Whereas if you saw it on Comedy Central after, like, you know, Peter fucking Holmes, or what's the guy, Pete Davison, or whatever, James Franco, Jonah Hill, or whatever, Jeff Ross, you'd be like, oh, I get it. He's meant to be a vile racist. That's what's funny about it. I don't get it. It's stupid. We need to, you know, I want as president, mayor of New York megalopolis, I promise we will turn comedy clubs into podcasting thought philosophy clubs. It's not about being funny. It's about being interesting and smart. And fuck the comedy. Do better. Stop being racist. But Trump wanted him because he's racist. So I guarantee you that played to a lot of people. There were probably a lot of people that were dog whistling and were like, wow, damn, that was like fucking savage. The real scum. I mean, come on, Puerto Rico's beautiful. You know, the United States doesn't deserve Puerto Rico. It's an amazing place, full of beautiful people. And in New York, I mean, Jesus Christ, of all places, to insult Puerto Rico, it's like, you gotta be out of your fucking mind. All right, so anyway, we'll talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula next time. There's Palazzo Chupi, the Dracula castle of, Thank you guys for watching. I feel like we've only begun to scratch the surface of Tony Hinchcliffe saga. But it also feels like we're very, you know, I mean, Kill Tony at Madison Square Garden was literally, what, 2 months ago? And, you know, there were people that have been on the open mic that were on that show. And so in some weird way, I think Trump's rally was inspired by all that shit. They saw all these comedians doing Madison Square Garden. They saw Kill Tony could do Madison Square Garden. Trump's just like, I want that. I want that gig. Put that on my fucking fall tour. I'm going to do, you know, 90 minutes of weave. The only thing that's woven about Trump is his hair. All right, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for watching my weave. And I'll be back on tomorrow. All right, for more. We're going to dissect it. We'll talk about Bram Stoker's Dracula and the Manosphere. Get in the Manosphere, everybody.